morning, everyone. Welcome to the Meta Markets. I'm your host, Mark Stalker D. I've got a couple of positions brewing here. But before that, make sure you familiarize yourself with the risk disclaimer that Bruno posted in chat so that we're all on the same page. If we're meeting for the first time, I have been trading commodities for around 19 years, almost 20, and I focus on base metals, precious metals, and energies markets. We are going to have the LME open in about 10 minutes time, and then we're going to have a look at what copper is doing in and around there. But it tested the Asia high, and it is trying to reject it, right? So we're going to see whether we can get some movement to the downside. I also have an RBOB long based on the seasonality idea that most of the pullbacks in and around this time of the year might bring an opportunity for some longs, but we also have some decent levels, which granted might be a little bit too early, but you know, it is what it is. So we're just going to see what they want to do with it. RBOB is something that's heavily connected to crude oil because it is a derivative product. Mini Manux says coffee before disclaimer, please. Well, I've already had my coffee, so I'm good to go. In fact, I've already had a Celsius as well, so it should be nice and energetic. So good levels around this area because they are the statistical extremes. Now, playing the devil's advocate, if we do go below the ADR low and continue, there is a very good level around 63, so there is space to the downside, and we do have a couple of single prints on the profile. But generally, statistically speaking, if something reaches the average ranges, there's a very high chance that they ping it back. So I am front running this trade, and I actually entered right where this candle closed, so in and around ASR low, but there's a pretty big spread, so I was actually immediately under water by about 17 ticks. That's normal for RBOB because it is a thin market, so it doesn't really surprise me. And I'm using a fairly wide stop of 85 ticks, which is in line with the volatility of the product. So I was also tagged into 2 scale-ins on copper, and I have a couple of partial stops that are right around the week call wall at 605. But Asia high is really my current orientation point here, and I'm looking to see if they can at least reach 6 evens, which remains a strong level. But they actually wicked it below that during Asia. I was asleep. I wasn't watching it, so I'm just going on based on the aftermath. And after the wick, there was a big move higher, resulting in a buying wick, and then they ran it back up. London and Shanghai close actually wicked slightly above the Asia high and then reversed, so that is what we're doing, or within the plan, and we're following the plan. Let's do yesterday's recap. Only took 3 trades all day. One of them was a scratch on copper. Luckily, I exited that before the whole CME went down on the metals, and I obviously took one loss yesterday on this stream, but I caught a really good RBOB trade towards the end of the day, and that's kind of the story of my career, where even if I take a loss in the first part of the day, those settlement fades into NYMEX are the ones that bring my day back up to positive. So we're almost back up to the account highs. And we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, practicing the scale-ins, and trying to get a little bit more comfortable with it. And then seeing how all of that feels in real time. And I will be honest, I'm still a little uncomfortable when now right now obviously we have a restriction on copper for 6 micros. Usually the way my risk model is, I'm supposed to scale into 8, but I obviously can't be doing that. So there is a little bit of a skew based on the restrictions that we have at the moment. However, I do find that on natural gas, which is not restricted, I am still uncomfortable with the third and fourth scaling, so I really need to work on that. And the only way to get comfortable is to keep doing the same drills over and over day by day until such time that you minimize discomfort. It just becomes another thing that you do in a day, kind of like brushing teeth. It's the same thing. It's a habit. It's just something you do in a day, and you need to normalize both accepting the control losses as well as accepting the scalings, that they are going to be, you know, outside of my comfort zone, and then at some point that's going to turn into comfort zone. That's what we're doing here. And I love that we have the combines to do that on, rather than, you know, running live accounts into the ground due to amplified emotions. So you deal with your emotional gremlins in a safe environment, and then you move into the funded level. I have been live twice, so obviously that tends to be my end goal whenever I'm practicing something. So I'm not just doing a combine to pass it, I'm doing a combine to run a proof of concept or something different that I'm doing, and that never really stops. If you're someone who thinks that trading is like a linear process where you get to a certain level and then you will never need to work on it again, think again. It's just not the reality. So yeah, let's have a look at who's in chat. So I already mentioned Minnie Mannix. Keith is here. Welcome, Keith. We have What is the Crime Incognito. Hello. Dan Trader. Yes, the old favorite. How you doing, Dan? Good to see you. Amanda is here. Jay Sim, Raphael, Rexter, Big Smoke saying, wait, we're supposed to brush teeth every day. Good news for you. You're supposed to brush them twice a day. Sim Jim 72, morning D, morning Sim Jim. I like your username. And do you have a Muppet as your little picture there? Brad Sims, one of my former VIPs. Paul Trowell. I am Callahan. Really appreciate your work. Thank you. Really appreciate you being here. Keith Abla. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Chris Nolan. Nolan saying twice. Wow. I know, right? And to be honest, since I've had my stupid immune illness, I struggle with that as well, man. It's like if I'm super knackered and I can barely stand, it's like, oh God, brushing teeth, really? It's just so much effort. But at the same time, you know, we're talking building positive habits, accepting those losses. That is like, if you take anything from all of us here on Topstep TV, just know that everybody is telling you exact same process. Love your losers, like Coach Paul likes to say. I love that saying. And you know, whenever we lose a trade on stream, we get absolutely ripped to shreds, right? We've seen that happen. Oh, how's it gone? Down again? It's like, yeah, it's like accepting losses is a big part of it, but also knowing your probabilities, right? It shouldn't be shameful as long as it is a control loss, as long as it's not running like 50 to 70% of your account on the ground because you're oversized to your eyeballs. If it's a control loss, it's all good, right? Big Smoke is saying, I substitute brushing for 2 Mind Mountain Dews a day. Yeah. Oh, God. Lance Briefcase saying, you're beautiful, and no, not sure about that, but thank you. I'm a bit quirky looking. And you can trade futures profitably. Talk about the total package. Are you real? No, I'm AI, mate. I'm AI. I'm not real. Definitely not real. Trading Nichols, hey, YouTube said that I watch more Topstep than 99% of other subscribers, and I don't even watch any of the main broadcasts. I just had a mental eye roll at other firms going live right now to get my attention. I mean, look, it is very good that we have all of the other firms trying to give you educational content. I'm all for that. I don't like burning bridges. I like to support any firm that is making an effort to bring value and education to the community. And you will notice a slight shift happening now where all of the firms are kind of on the same page. And I do think that everybody went against Patak for wanting to run an SRO, but I actually thought that would have been a very good idea. to get all of the CEOs of all the prop firms just sitting down and saying, right, well, this is the direction we're going. Let's all work for the betterment of the industry, right? And so far that's not the case. However, you can see parallels. We see that we've now identified some people who are sim farmers. Certain things have come to light that, those big payouts, apart from like very few isolated individuals, are mostly nonsense because they require an extraordinary amount of expense. We're talking like close to $200,000 of investment into combines. And even though some of those people have come forward to say, well, yeah, I mean, my return on investment is still 2 to 1 or 2.5. Yeah, avoiding the huge issue that, yes, you're successful. Well done. Congratulations. Very happy for you. Is this realistic for your clients? Is it realistic for the clients for you to claim that they too can be millionaires if only they spend close to 200,000 on combines? I go the opposite way. I want to spend maybe a couple of grand on combines in order to get maybe 20,000 in payouts. That's realistic for most people, right? And I'm talking about like a year's worth. Let's start small. Don't shoot for the moon, right? Let's start small. Keep your spend low, and don't just look at it, oh, it's just 200. 200 is a lot of money for some people. 200 per combine, right? Or 220, whatever it is though. And I'm not saying that sim farming is a bad thing, but it is sort of a loophole. It's a good stepping stone, but those who want to just remain in sim, that's not the reality. And the more that we see YOLOers and people just, running through combines like their life depends on it, I think the more we will see prop firms tightening the rules on what's allowed and what's not allowed. You can be against it, but it's their industry, right? And it is the industry that is now kind of going back to the beginning. That's how I feel now. There's talk of now restricting the number of accounts that people can have. At Topstep, that's always been the case, certainly in the last 2 years. But when I started with Topstep 10 years ago, this was the process. You had a two-phase process in the combine. So you had, and I was here when they first started with the with the monthly payment for combines. So you would have to pass in 30 days. And what they've seen very quickly is that people will be doing really well in the first 20 days, 25 days, and then on those last 5 days, they would start doing stupid things. So then they changed that to be a continuous combine, but you still had a two-phase process. Initially, the two-phase process was you pass a combine as usual, but you needed minimum 10 days to pass it. So there was none of this like 1 day, no days, 2 days. And after that was done, there was no sim payout. So you would be moving into live funded prep phase. And that was still a sim account, but it had an additional difficulty where your daily loss limit would now become your weekly loss limit. Weekly loss limit. So you wouldn't be able to lose what was then a daily loss limit of 3,000 on a 150K combine. Instead, those 3K would have to be very carefully babysat, by week. And it would take so long. It would take you like 2 to 3 months to actually get to the funded stage. Once you were in the funded stage, there was none of sim. You would get $5,000 straight into a live account, and that would be it. Done, right? So we have to be, mindful of the practices that are maybe not realistic, and that it is just my opinion. So, ultimately it is your money. If you want to spend ludicrous amounts of combines, that is your prerogative. But at the same time, prop firms don't do that. Don't do that, right? It's just not how things work. And we've got to a point where I even had somebody on this stream saying, well, Dee, if we all traded profitably, where would we be trading without prop firms? And I'm like, I don't know, the live accounts, maybe? Like, I'm just brainstorming, It's like you would actually be able to do this for a living and maintain an account for really long periods of time, right? Really long. We're not talking 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. We're talking 6 months. Let's start with 6 months, right? And 6 months now in prop world seems like half an age, a millennium. So that should be the end goal, and that's the practices that we try to instill in people, and to make sure that we're not doing stupid things, and to tackle the trading gremlins so that you're not annoyed when you lose a trade, because losses are simply a part of the equation. So widen your time frames, and think of every account that you get involved. How would that look like if this was my real actual money? Now it isn't, because prop firms mitigate they mitigate the risk. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy because there's probably a delivery. Yeah. So that's just some thoughts that I've been kind of dealing with recently, and obviously because we are heavily associated with Topstep, we tend to get stick a lot from various people. And James Hansen has a good point. I only win 50% of the time. You have to learn to accept it fast, or it will drive you insane. Yeah, and think of it as like your secret superpower, right? Staying calm under pressure. Staying calm and not behaving like a 3-year-old throwing a temper tantrum, throwing your toys out of a pram if you lose a trade. Think about how irrational that is. Would you do that in any other situation? Something doesn't work for you and you just go into full tilt mode. That's not socially acceptable. So why do you think that's socially acceptable to do in trading? It isn't, right? But think of it as developing a superpower. You're a superhero and you are trying to do something that most of the humanity can't do, right? Because let's face it, trading is a very uncomfortable thing. Nobody likes to lose. Everybody wants to win. It's not the reality. And for me, I've been floating for the last 20 years between 43% and sort of 71%. 71 when I'm doing really well. Right now I'm sitting somewhere in the middle of that, around 56, 57 if we're going to round it up. And that means I will lose trades. I will lose trades, and I'm fine with that. And whoever is not fine with that, well, you need to ask yourself why you are not fine with me taking a loss. It's like, because I don't care. All right, so if I can get everybody to give us a like here, because I know I really suck with audience interaction in general, but if you are, finding value in anything that I'm saying, why don't you show us, caress that like button. I will really appreciate it. So, there it is. All right, Trading Nichols also says attention seems like most young punks with very light understanding of the markets versus the talent has been attracted for Topstep coaches. Has been attracted for Topstep. All right, yeah. I don't know whether, what do you mean? The age of coaches? Like what? Because, most of our coaches, they may look young, but none of us are young. I don't think we have a single coach that is actually a coach and is under 30 years of age. I'm 45, and then you have people like Coach Paul, Coach Ray, Coach Jack, Senior, he's JD's dad. We have Coach Hoop, obviously we have Hogue, we have Anne-Marie. None of us are young, so yeah, we may look it because we try and take care of ourselves for sure, and trying to take care of your general health to the best of your ability is something to consider, because we want our brains to work. And my body doesn't work that great at this point, but my brain is still fine, luckily. Trading Nichols also says, one of my favorite, tons of dead firms that figured, we can have live traders, we'll just pay out on SIM only. Look at how many people fail to trade with us, it'll work. They shut the doors when they spend $1, when they can't keep paying. Yeah, exactly. And that's also, another criticism of all of these new firms I'm always suspicious when a new firm crops up out of nowhere. It's like, well, who are these people? And I'm one of those annoying individuals who likes to actually get in touch with the firm CEOs before I do any work with them. And I like to know everybody in the industry. I used to be an IT recruiter and a session musician as well, so networking and knowing people in the industry is the name of the game, for me at least. So if I, get in touch with someone and something is a little off, or I'm not exactly sure of their background, I'm just seeing like a cash grab situation. And, those types of firms generally won't survive for that long. Amanda says 200K is goofy for not passing my spend for 2.5 to 3 years. It's under 3K. Yeah, that's how it should be. This is why multiple firms are always better than one. Efficient pricing and rules. Thankful for many firms joining the space to better consumers. I would disagree with that a little bit. Because competition is good, absolutely. But if there's a lot of bad players, and if there's a lot of firms that are finding all sorts of excuses of why they don't pay out, rather than the legit excuses, it's like you yellowed the account, you were in this, and then you purchased accounts that you were not supposed to, like, what are we doing, right? So nobody's going to argue that there are a lot of bad players out there, and they are forcing the good players to change rules and ruining the game for the rest of us. And there's also something to be said for that. Last briefcase, do you stick with Topstep only, or do you chase best sales from different firms? I don't chase anything. I have 2 of my own private accounts, and another one that I only use for options. So I have a corporate account. I have what I call my YOLO account, even though my YOLO is probably quite a bit different than other people's YOLO. And yes, I have... I like to test some firms, but no, I don't have a million accounts from all sorts. In fact, there's only maybe a couple of firms, maybe three firms that I think are truly legit, and the others I'm not sure about. So, still, maybe time will tell. Time is always the best judge of anyone's business. All right, so corporate's getting a little bit of traction. CL and RBOB are still trying to decide. So maybe once we get to midday, which is like another 7 minutes or so, we can see what they want to do, whether they want to run it all the way down. And I'm always asking myself questions. It's like, well, how much loss can I absorb here? What's this going to be? Well, it's going to be about $357. Can this account absorb that? Yes, it can. Is it a setup that I would take any day? Yes. Am I going to bail early if it does go down to retest the ADR low? No, because I've got my stop right underneath that, and it's underneath the 222. It doesn't guarantee that this is going to survive, but it's a pretty decent trade location with high probability of working out statistically. Maybe not today, but we'll see. My stop loss is under the round number, and it's under the ADR low. So all of that for me. Are we seasonally in a time of the year when RBOB goes bullish? Yes. Was this a decent enough pullback? Yes. Do I want to be a buyer on any pullback in RBOB until mid-May? Yes. So all of that is very much within my plan, and I couldn't care less if this knocks me out and just whatever. So there's always going to be a way to catch the same idea later in the day. And again, like I said, it's been my career to maybe have, if the first couple of trades on the day don't go well, I then take a big break, and I come back closer to either the London close and sometimes even all the way to the last sort of hour of NYMEX, so to get that like fade into settlement. We saw that yesterday, so I was on group coaching and I was in that. So group coaching was at 6 p.m. my time yesterday, and I already entered somewhere here, and then I sat on it. And I sat on it, and my trade durations are not 3 minutes, 2 seconds, 20 seconds. They are 70 minutes, 100 minutes, on average. So I sat on it, and then eventually I got a very, very good trade out of it. I grabbed 147 ticks on the upside, and that brought my day yesterday to positive, right? So that's something that happens to me a lot. So keep that in mind as we're spending some time together here. But I do agree with David in some respect that, you know, diversification between the firms can be a thing as long as you're not using like 12 different firms and then you start losing your head over which account is trading what, and your trade copier starts going crazy and stuff. So there's a lot of kind of can of worms and a Pandora's box that you can open with the multiple accounts that people have. So yeah, just keep it sensible, you know, keep it sensible. LaDude says, when is the last time you blew a prop account? Prop account. So let's see. I had an XFA where the variance was really big during all the silver stuff. So I would say that was beginning of December. And this is also why I'm doing all of this now. But I was live twice with Topstep. Usually they put me in live very quickly. So I'm mindful of that. And this is also why I'm copy trading, also because of these new rules, you know, to try and get some capital in there. But on both occasions, they moved me to live within a month. The second time was a month and 10 days. First time was even like less than a month. But that was, the first one was like back in the day when we could do XFAs and live. So then I kept trading XFAs, and a lot of that balance was transferred into live and blah, 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 blah. So yeah. But yeah, it's not that I don't blow up prop accounts, I do, but it just takes me a lot longer. Let's put it that way. So I generally keep even my XFAs for as long as possible, and my live accounts I can maintain and nourish for a long, long time. Long time. We're talking like 17 months, 2 years, 3 years, easily. Chris Love is saying, hi Dee, I live and trade in the UK. What is the most tax efficient way to do this? Set up a limited company or trade independently and self-assessment? Definitely not trading independently and self-assessment, but I will preface this with saying I'm not an accountant. So I can just tell you what I do. Even though Topstep provides you just with the individual tax form, BEN, rather than BENE, which is for the accounts. Good morning, Rimmer. What's up? This is Rimmer Bear. He's just popped up. I don't know why. What's up? Do you want to trade? You want to give me your analysis? How are the Bickies prices today? He's a cutie. Yeah, so, but I'm not, I'm not an accountant. So what I do fill out the BEN, and then I do run everything through a WISE business account, prop related. And there are companies that will provide you the BENE. It's just for some reason Topstep is not one of them. But however you spin it, you are the one who is responsible for your own taxes. Running it through personal income is only viable if your overall profits won't go past 20 grand per year, because that's your tax-free allowance. Anything after that, consider a limited company as a way. And it's a pain, because I run a limited company that has to be VAT registered as well. So that means every 3-4 months you do the VAT. Some accountants would do it for you, but then they ask so many questions. I just prefer to do it myself. And then after that, obviously you have corporation tax, you have to do accounts, and for that you do need an accountant, and I have one as well. Remember, I'm very busy, mate. I'm very busy. We can cuddle later, okay? Okay? There you go. You can go onto the desk and settle. Go and settle. Go on. Enough. This is one of my age dogs. He's a he's a champ, but sometimes he gets super needy. I don't know what's up with him. Like, hold me. Ramen too cold. How do you like silver micro longs right now? To be honest, I'm not really looking much at silver until they roll. Have they rolled on Topstep? I know that we rolled in general. So let's see what the contract is. Yeah, so they did roll. You know, it's a new contract, so things might be a little bit weird. Especially if the old contract is still having some people who might be still in it. But do I like longs and silver? I don't. No, I think it's a little early. Let's see where the Asia low and high were located. So this was Asia high. And the low. Alright, and this was the low, pretty much. They did it in the first half hour. So they established a low, then a couple of hours later established a high, and that's it. So one of the reasons why I don't like longs here, so yeah, I can see it a little bit better now. We're trying to go below the Asia low. That could constitute a breakout. That's never a good thing. If you are looking for longs, you do not want the Asia low to break. Asia is a huge market for silver and precious metals in general, even base metals as well. Copper is traded very widely there. And copper is now doing a similar thing, so it's trying to sell off. But at the same time, it is still Asia bound. So I use the time frame between Globex open and Tokyo close to find my Asia high and low, so whatever we've done at that point. But no, this is definitely not, for me at least, the way I trade. I would be thinking this is actually quite a bearish outlook, so I'm not interested in that. And now yesterday we had some tariff news when I was doing my trade, and I completely missed that. So I am trying to keep financial juice on one of my screens over here, just to make sure there's no tariff news, because tariff news tends to be pretty bullish for copper, and if I'm in a short, obviously that's not a good thing. So yeah, but now it's doing well. My first partial take profit is an area just below this GEX1 level, which is a pretty decent options level. It's less large than yesterday, but it's still, you know, pretty notable. So that's kind of what I want to see. I want to see them test below this inside low. Why do I call it an inside low? Because this is your reference low, this is your reference high, and this is the nearest area where most people will be having their stops. Well, I want to have my profit there. So I want to be the devil's spawn that takes everybody else's stops. Just kidding. But yeah, it's a decent area to take profits. Crude oil and RBOB are still a bit quiet, and this is all very range bound on copper too, so that's not great. But I am still going to anchor a VWAP to the LME Open, which is 11:40 a.m. my time. I am in England, so do with that what you will. And then if we don't quickly get to GEX1, I'm just going to kill this trade, because I don't really want to be in it for too long. This is not a swing trade, it's just a little rangey range. And that can bounce, you know, anywhere. It can even bounce in like standard deviation curve for the London session. That's obviously quite dangerous. So they don't even have to wick the low. Or they might do it later after like retesting Asia high. So those are all very important danger events that can happen. I typically don't like trailing my stops because I find that most of my targets do get reached. And trading stops is actually my trigger, my mental trigger. So I trail a stop, then it goes straight to my target. And I'm like, why did I do that? And then I lose it. So yeah. Trading Nichols says, hold on, let me find the first part of that. Can't have life because Americans' forex laws have changed. Ugly period. I mean, that's not new though. That was Dodd-Frank. That was ages ago. It was when did they change that? It was a long time ago. It was like what, 2017, 2018? It's just that the laws weren't being respected. That was the bigger issue. So the Dodd-Frank has existed forever, and that made it illegal for U.S. citizens to trade CFDs, and yet many forex prop firms kept operating in the USA. Why? Because they're running on under the covers, right? Nobody knew they were there. And then when it came out that they are operating and trading, and they're accepting US residents on the account, well, it's a SIM account, so what? It's like, well, no, you're still breaking laws. And then they put a stop to that. So yeah. Minnie Mannix says the monthly payout is at the door. Well done. Well done. That's what we want to hear. This is what we do. Raphael says, I think Aaron is the youngest. Yes, Aaron is the youngest. I don't think he's a VIP coach, though, so I don't think he has a group. And also, Aaron has been trading for, what, 7-8 years? So he's not new. You know, and also I don't think he's as young as you think he is. Again, all of us here, we look much younger than we are, so... and it was hilarious because me and Patak, we're like, he's only one year older than me, and he's known me for like literally over a decade. And he's when we started working together on Topstep TV, he was like, "Well, Dee, you've got time, right?" Because I was saying something about like not wanting kids and stuff, and he said, "Well, you've got time to decide." And I was like, "Yeah, because perimenopause is where it's at." And he goes, "What do you mean? How old are you?" And I was like, "Come on, Michael, really?" And I said to him back then, I was 42. I said, "I'm 42. And he said, "What? I thought you were 27. I said, "Yeah, think about it. You know me from the Squawk Radio. That was in 2015. How can I possibly be 27 if I've been with you guys?" It's like, come on. Do some math. And he was like, "Wow, we're close." I said, "Yeah." How did I meet with Michael? So I was their first female funded trader back in 2015. That's how I knew everybody. Up until the point where I passed the funded account, I passed the combine and got into their funded account. No female has ever passed a combine. It was like predominantly men. And because of that, they reached out, so I did interviews, and then I kept being the guest on Squawk Radio, kind of like you see guests coming on Topstep TV now. So I was one of those, but it wasn't a visual medium, it was just audio. So it was Eddie running Squawk Radio, and Hogue was doing his analysis like he normally does. Hoop had a segment also on fundamentals, so I got to meet Hoop because we were both trading crude oil then, and it was just one of those things where Michael would also pop in to talk. So we were on like, just like chatting. And so that's how I met everybody. And then from there onwards, me and Hogue developed a big friendship. He was my risk manager for quite a while. Then Mick started working for them. And then Hogue kind of took a sabbatical for a while. But we stayed in touch, and over the years we created content together. He was on my channel, I was in panels for them every so often, and when Topstep TV came, it just kind of made sense to be a part of all this, and that's how it went. So it's a big sort of family kind of thing. They are definitely my extended family, so it just makes sense. EMS says, I hate incorrect hypotheses. If anything, I'm sort of thinking soft rule 0 out of 4 on a thing, or just F off for an hour. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I don't mind incorrect hypothesis, but that's kind of what the process of doing the day-by-day plans, right? To see what's working, what's not working, not necessarily to be 100% right every day. But once you get to a point where, let's say you have 4 hypotheses, 2 longs, 2 shorts at different levels, and you find that in one day you get at least 2 of them, and then that keeps happening, 2 or 3 of them keep appearing, and maybe you're wrong on 1, that's absolutely fine. Okay, that means your skills have grown, you can see the market situation way before anything else comes in, purely by the fact of how we're opening outside of value, inside value. So no, that can give you a context immediately. What are we doing around these ADRs? Do we have any big options levels? That's how I trade, right? Because these GEX levels that I have on my chart, they are taken from the options chain, heavily used by dealers to hedge around them. And typically you will see these lows and highs most of the time created around areas of the big options with high open interests. There's other things that go along with it, but I don't want to get into it because it can get a little complex. Just know that there's sort of like your invisible support and resistances. There's another layer to the options chain, and that's whether you're in positive or negative gamma. And yesterday it was quite funny. Chris, I think, came on and he popped not a question, but just like a thank you, because I was mentioning the gamma flip levels, and he was like, "Thank you for clarifying things. It's helped me a lot." And JD's like, "What were you talking about yesterday?" And I was like, "I don't know, mate. Like, I talk so much that." And we go over a lot of things. And then someone in chat reminded me what I was talking about. And I was like, it's all coming back now. Yes, gamma flip. So gamma flip conditions, so positive or negative gamma. It's important because it can tell you how the price action is going to behave. Is it going to be bonkers? Is it going to be like sliding through levels and then reclaiming them? Or is it going to be like more of a mean reverting situation where, we go up, then there's a pullback, then maybe we go up again, but then there's another pullback. That is usually a feature of positive gamma environment. But if you're negative gamma, it's usually when markets are just going straight up or straight down, and it is because of dealer hedging. So if we go past a certain point where maybe there were short calls, like let's say on RBOB, and by the way, RBOB, I saw somebody asking, it's gasoline futures, and it's a derivative of crude oil. It's a product that results from refinement of crude oil, and you have two of those. You have RBOB and you have heating oil. Both of those are super thin. You can see by how thin the dome is. Like if I compare it to ES, even at this time of day, you will see that ES has all of these contracts here. So that's liquidity, right? But you see RBOB is like nothing, 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 1, 2, nothing, 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 nothing. Oh, 1, nothing, 1, 1. That's a thin market, and that is a feature of both both gasoline futures and heating oil, and both of them are derivatives, refined products from crude oil. So therefore they have a big connection with crude oil, but at the same time they're not like twinsies. They also have seasonal patterns, and right now the seasonal pattern of RBOB is that we turned bullish until mid-May, and that's happened nearly every single year apart from COVID years. So we had 2 years that were like a bit weird. Because it was a black swan event. So, futures that went negative on crude oil. We've never seen that. They suspended crude oil trading for a long time. And then after like 2-3 months, they were like, okay, let's go back. So, yeah. But yeah, so GEX levels, positive versus negative gamma, also something to be aware of. And then if you're wondering why a level that you've had is kind of slicing and dicing like crazy and then going on a huge run through it and then continuing taking no prisoners, that will be a function of negative gamma environment. So if you know that, you don't have to be afraid of it. You can prepare for it, and you can just go, okay, I'm not gonna try and get ahead of the steam train. EMS says, well, D, you're a master vampire. We can't compare it to your level of being like, all right, it's B or C if it's not A. But you can just run a structured hypothesis, right? I write 3 or 4 hypotheses. I teach people how to write them. EMS says you want to incorporate or LSE if you're over 90K. Over here, it's over 60,000 pounds. You have to, if you are projecting that your income is going to be over 60,000 pounds for the year, you have to get VAT registered, and then everything kind of starts changing. You get VAT back on expenses, not all of it, but legit business expenses. But yeah, anything over that initial sort of 20K of free money that the UK gives, you have to start thinking how to structure your trading. Have you ever used the VWAP candles in Bookmap? I was not even aware that that is a feature. My Bookmap looks like this. That's all I have. So I have the total delta on the bubbles. I obviously have the dome. I have the cumulative volume delta at the bottom. And I think that's pretty much it. Like, I don't have anything else. I do have things like sweep indicator. Sometimes even a large lot indicator, just to kind of see what they're doing. Yeah. Alright, so crude oil is not playing ball for now, but we'll see what happens. Again, I'm probably going to commit to the risk here, just because it's like ADR low, so I couldn't care less. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Pitch it to the 40% or 43%. That won't work. So again, keep in mind that I'm not a high accuracy trader. I am more a higher, not high, but higher risk reward. But I'm also not crazy, so I don't shoot for like 5R every single day. If there's nothing there, if it's not giving me the 5R swing, then I'm gonna take my 1R, you know, 1.3. In fact, all last week, it was all just very quiet, just 1R. 0.8, 1.3, 0.5, scratch. It's like, come on. And it's fine, you know, I don't care. Alright, let's see if they're gonna do something here. So crude oil is going already into a lower low. RBOB isn't just yet. So we'll see. But yeah, if this continues to drop, RBOB is obviously going to be pulled with it. And in that case, we could flip to another hypothesis, which is to say that the day, if we go under the ADR low and we sustain the next 30-minute time frame, so another 17 minutes, with a pretty strong candle without buying wicks pinging back, that would mean that we're going into an outlier day, which would mean a negative gamma environment as well, because we are in negative gamma currently, and then 63 remains on the cards. But I won't be shorting RBOB there. I'm still wanting longs, so if this one doesn't work, I'm going to wait until we're closer to like 220 or something. And at the same time, I would like to see crude oil at 63, and then I'm going to try and catch it either in and around London sort of close, or very late in the day for the day range fill. And sometimes I will keep the London close trade all the way through, because they don't really do much during the lunchtime. Alright, so crude oil is dropping. It is taking RBOB with it. That's absolutely fine. It's just giving us information of what sort of a day we have. And it could be an outlier day to the downside. We are after the inventories, so usually when there's a big build, that tends to be bearish for crude oil, but yesterday it went up. However, I found with any fundamental releases, it does tend to appear the next day. It's not like an immediate reaction. And if that's the case, then I will stay out of RBOB longs until tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a look at nat gas, because we do have the inventories for natural gas today as well. So now, back in the old days, the way I would be trading, I would be now waiting to see whether this 30-minute time frame finishes above ADR low. Then I would add into a drawdown, all within like the 3 minis that I have as a max default position. But I've sized down, and I'm trying to not scale in until the trade starts doing what it's supposed to be doing, thereby minimizing the drawdown. And that's why I'm absolutely okay to eat up a stop loss that's only on one core position. And then if it is doing what it's supposed to be doing, then you add another one, and then you just keep it. And again, to remind people how long I keep my trades, right now the average win duration is 83 minutes. 83 minutes. So that's nearly an hour and a half. EMS says, what I want to ask is how people get their level 2 data to be more reasonable, because it's barely like 10 points worth. Probably incorrect resolution. What do you have your level 2 data on? Because level 2 data is this as well. Intraday order flow and the way they're behaving, right? So it's not just the dome. It's not just like, oh yeah, I've got some prices on here. It's also you know, real-time orders going through and seeing the institutions as they start to ping their big positions. You can see them. So we'll see whether this delta recovers on RBOB. Ben Joyner says, thanks for inspiring me, Deeyana. Getting closer to consistently profitable. Just learned about volume profile around rejections and consolidations to find long and short positions. Only 1 week so far. Yeah, that's the start. We all got to start somewhere. So well done for including volume profile. I love it. I love it. It was a turning point in my intraday profitability. Yeah, natural vampire. We're all vampires here, man. We just don't age. Mirror Shine says, I just bought a Topstep 50k account. I still don't know how to use the platform. Is there someone can help me how to use the platform? Okay, so watch this. You see here where it says support, question mark. That's not an actual support immediately. Yes, you do have the live chat, but one of the big things here, look, Topstep 5-minute tutorials. There you're going to find Coach Robert, also a very good guy who's a complete techie, and I love nerding out with him and with Anne-Marie. So here you're going to find a bunch of different little bite-sized pieces on how the platform works. I suggest before you trade your spanking new combine to familiarize yourself with that. Now that you have a combine, you can even get into a practice account. I'll be honest, I have no idea how to do a practice account on this new dashboard because I've been a legacy dashboard for a long time. So I was on the legacy dashboard forever. And I've only moved to the new dashboard like in January. And I haven't been on the reversal challenge, so I really don't know how to. So somebody can tell our friend Mirror Shine here how to activate the practice account. That's probably your best bet. So rather than running your combine into the ground that you paid money for, you can now use a practice account that comes with that, and you will be able to change it in this section to a practice account, which is blue letters. Okay, it's in blue letters. Hogue is a G, absolutely. I love Hogue. Big friend of mine. Probably one of the nicest people that I've ever met in my life. Alright, so we're getting some... There's something... There's a pause in Iran, US talks in Geneva currently. Negotiation is to resume later on today. Iran nuances has learned. Is that English? Oh, Iran Nuances is a Twitter account. Right, I see. Yeah, that's going to be something that affects the crude oil and RBOB alike. So we're out of that. That's fine. We wait for a better time of day for this. Usually the short side is a better choice for this time of day. When they go up, I like to short it. But because of the seasonality, I really don't want to do that. And we're sitting right at statistical lows. So I'm not crazy enough to go going shorts into a statistical low. Only when it proves to me that this is a true outlier day to the downside, then we can look to find another short. But until then, we take the loss. We don't lose our shit because it's a loss. And you just go, okay, now we watch. Big candle, you don't try and jump in. Big candle means what's going on, I need more info. Okay? That's why we have stops. So again, this is why I say it's a superpower to not throw your toys out of a pram if you're wrong. You will be wrong a lot in this game, and that's absolutely fine. You do not need to be freaking out because you're wrong, because that's just your ego talking. Or, I don't know, shame or something. I don't know what the reason would be, but yeah, every time I eat up a stop loss live, people are like, nah. It's like, yeah, but then I show my stats and then we never hear from them again. It's like, show your stats if you're so bothered about me losing a trade, because clearly it bothers you more than it does me. And you know, you can't be that attached to any single trade, man. They're just little bits and pieces. You know, you try one thing, doesn't work, that's fine. Then you wait for a little while, see whether there's a new setup, then you enter. If there's no new setup, you have to wait. Oh my god, I have to wait. Oh, here we go. Bruno being super helpful. Practice account. You go to new dashboard, so the new dashboard, which is now everybody, right? Accounts tab, add-ons. Okay, so you go to the accounts tab, and I know that there's an add-on, so that's where it is. Bruno says, must have a combine. Yeah, I think they do already. Joe Watson says, I was minus 5,125 today, managed to bring it back into a greed day, locked myself out. I'm just gonna say, Joe, unless you had like $50,000 of actual balance in there, like the buffer, you have no business going into minus 5k drawdown on the day. Just being very straightforward here. Demo account goes away once you're funded. Why is that? So demo account doesn't go away if you're an XFA, I don't think. So you can still do combines and have XFAs, but if you're live, then you're live. There's no more sim, you are live. So therefore at that point, that's true, you can't have an XFA. Abed Mahmoud says, Dakota and Jay called the long on NASDAQ. I was already long in the MES before this session. That's fine. I mean, you know, I don't see why that's such a big deal. So you had a hypothesis, you entered, then they saw something similar, and they also decided that that is a... Yeah, Eloise is also saying the same thing as Bruno. Practice account, go to accounts, add-ons, and there you add it. But you must have an active combine. So everybody's telling you the same thing here. If you're wrong, better to be wrong quickly. I kind of slightly disagree with that, because if you're that wrong that quickly, it means you're trading during some kind of a high-risk event. Now, what could happen here is that we close the next 30-minute time frame in 3 minutes above the ADR low. Maybe I'll try again. I don't know. I'll see what it looks like. Big candles for me are never really like a cause to jump into a short. To me, that would be an opportunity to go long, but only if the delta is rising quickly with it. So yeah. And yeah, the whole thing, oh, if you're wrong, better be wrong quickly. So what does that mean? If you're right, you better be right quickly as well? I disagree with that too. Why? Because you are effectively looking to make profits quicker. I would say slow it down. Slow it down, widen the stop, size down, and just try and stay in, commit to the trade. The biggest issues in trading are not accepting a loss that just didn't do whatever, and the stop loss. The biggest issue that I see is people taking quick profits and quick exits, and therefore missing out on what could potentially be like a 150 tick trade. Yesterday during group coaching, I was in that RBOB trade. If I had trailed my stop, do you know what would have happened? It would have smacked, and I said it yesterday, you can roll it back if you want. If I had trailed my stop, it would have retested my entry, knocked me out, and then I would have had diddly squat as profit. Instead, I made sure that I stayed in, because I don't care, I don't trail my stops. I made sure that I stayed in while it drew down about 30 ticks on an 85 tick stop on RBOB, and then it shot up and it kept going. So that resulted in a 147 tick profit. Okay? But if you're constantly, you know, strung out, you have to relax. You have to relax. You can't just be all twitchy. I call that grasshoppering. You know, like grasshoppers, they're very twitchy. I suppose squirrels are no better, like squirrely trading, you know? And every time I say that word, I always have like Jerome Powell in my ear, because he always goes, we're squarely focused. And I can't help but hear squirrely rather than squarely. I think it's just the way he says it, but I always laugh. We're squarely focused. Amanda says, from what I know, CME doesn't care about people using SIM for entry gauging. It's just simple. Whatever you do, don't use it to offset risk before entering live. Otherwise, it might be a wash trade. Yeah. From what we've heard, like chatter in the industry, is that the CME is not happy about SIM payouts. They are not really that keen on people getting payouts from demos, which is what's happening. Alright, so one thing I'm not liking about this copper trade is that we keep creating these higher lows and compressing the range. That is telling me that, like, how much space do we have here? Unless something else comes in. Yeah, there's a lot of Iran news. US-Iran nuclear talks in Geneva end after 3 hours. So is that a good thing? Oh no, yeah, so they will resume later today. So yeah, today is going to be one of those days where it's like headline risk filled. So definitely keep your eyes on Financial Juice. If you just log into it via your Google or Facebook, it is free. It's got a little bit of a delay, like of like, I think it's a couple of minutes or something, or maybe a minute, but it's not enough of a delay to kind of go, oh my God, I have no idea what's happening. So have some kind of squawk radio situation where you can be informed, but I just like to keep it like this on one of my screens. And yesterday I kind of dropped the ball and wasn't keeping an eye on it, and suddenly tariff news came up, and tariff news are very, very bullish for copper. So alright, so there is some sort of bounce. I'm just gonna check what both RBOB and crude oil are doing. So crude oil is starting to recover. We had a big sweep on that news, and now it's recovering. RBOB Delta not really responding just yet. And crude oil Delta has not recovered pre the smash, but it might be worth giving it another go. And this time from a lower entry, so let's try that. Let's try it. Alright, so Delta for RBOB has moved off the low point, and crude oil continuing to rise. Is it going to be sustained? That is now the question. The next thing that I want to see here is the reclaim of crude oil of this ADR low. But RBOB is a more lively product, so it could be a little bit more exaggerated and they might ping back. The spread is much better. When I entered my first trade, I entered with a -17 spread. So that wasn't great. And now I entered and I couldn't really see any spread. So I managed to jab it in an area of higher liquidity. So that's all right. Jay Cook has joined us. Coach Jay is here. Good morning, good morning. Yes. JCBK says, if you're consistently profitable in a practice, but in sim and funded you struggle, is that mainly a confidence and psychology issue? Yeah. Yes, I would definitely say that. Yeah. Yeah, it happens. Yes, it happens in thin markets, because they can't, like, if you have nothing, and let's say I want to enter a short, so what's going to happen? Well, they have to give it to me here or there, or even all the way down here. They can't just, they can't just kind of jab it where there's no counterparty, and if you don't have anybody on the other side to take the opposing side of your order, that's the order matching on the exchange, then they just give you a larger spread, right? Because you're wherever the liquidity is, that's where they're going to fill you. This is how it is. Again, if you go back to like the old Forex days, you had some, not even that pairs that are that exotic. You had them like, what was it? The GBP New Zealand, or no, Aussie New Zealand dollar. That one had like a spread of 24 ticks or pips. So yeah. This is also the reason why scalping in some of the products that I trade is just not feasible. Because if you're only aiming for like 20 ticks profit and 17 ticks of that is going to be your spread, what are you left with? Three ticks? and how much are your commissions. So even if it's a profitable scalp, you will still be negative net because of the execution, slippage, spreads, commissions. And you know, I like to give brokers as less money as possible, personally. So you know, if I can grab 100 ticks on one round turn, they just get one round turn. They get nothing else, and I get 100 ticks. So that's what I like to do. But yeah, so to go back to the person that's struggling in funded, have a look at Jared Tendler. He's got this this way of looking at your trading in mental and tactical skills, and then he wants you to make sure you know your A game, B game, C game, and to really be aware of your triggers. There's something that is stopping you from profiting. Is it oversizing? That could be a part of it. In that case, that's a rather easy fix. Size down. If it's overtrading due to psychology and the increased perceived pressure, that will be your something causing the trigger to happen, and then you effectively going into a bit of a fight or flight and doing stupid things outside of your plan. So that needs to be tightened. But that one would be more of a psychological thing, especially if you know so much of your strategy that you know what you're looking for, you know your levels, you know what your setup looks like, you know what it looks like when it turns up, and you have high confidence in the probability of those playbooks. Say that 10 times fast. What's the time? We're going to keep an eye on the time, okay? For the live account, is there a way to scale the balance to 150k, for example, if we got 50k live? Oh man, you're asking me questions where I wouldn't go and need to look at the terms and conditions. I am honestly not sure, but I think that they do it by the, not necessarily by what is the core account size that you bought, but rather how much profit you have, and then they round it up to the next tier if it's over a certain amount. So let's say you generate, so you bought a 50k combine, let's say that you generate 55,000 in your account across all 5. So what that means, they will probably scale you up to the next tier, which is 100k, for the purposes of the startup data loss limit that you always have in live, and then you know, you get 20% of that cash. Now eventually, as you keep trading well, you do not lose 80% unless you behave like a muppet and you decide that the 80% is forfeited, because it isn't, but it's pending some conditions, and the conditions are that you keep performing. Guess what? This is a performance game, and milestones are actually a normal thing. You would get like a larger bonus if you would hit a percentage-based sort of scale up on the year. That's obviously because of profits generated. In one of my old prop firms, you would then not get 20% performance fees, and there's a story as to why that was so low. I think the best one back in the day was like 50% profit split, but I was at the one where you get 20%, but they keep scaling you up like super aggressively whenever you have a profitable month. So that was a little crazy, and it was a good option, maybe not for everyone, and we certainly didn't have online prop firms. Then they will pay you out 90% of the profits. So the business model has changed in favor of the trader, but also the scaling up opportunities are less. So you can't exactly go immediately from like 0 to hero. You now have to work for it. But it's still, I mean, Patak is right when he says that it's still the best and highest startup capital that you're going to get out of all prop firms. Was it better before? Yes. Did the YOLOers destroy it for the rest of us? Yes. But it's just how it is. Yeah. Jared Tendler, that's right. Yeah. He's a golf coach, but he's worked with so many traders. Joe Watson has a question. Do you instantly go live after 5 payouts? No. So think about the 5 payouts as like a benchmark, and then you get on the radar of the risk team, and then they monitor you, and then they review what sort of Muppet moments you had before. How many combines did you go through in order to get to where you are? Did you YOLO the account? How quickly was the profit generated? And then if all of that is kind of up to their standard, they may move you. But that process can also happen after one payout or two payouts or three payouts, right? It's very, very individual and completely proprietary and discretionary to the risk team. I don't know what they look for. I do know that I know a couple of things they want to see. They want to see low variance. So they don't want to see, a day where it's like 10 grand up, 7 grand down, 12 grand up, 30 grand down. They don't want to see that, right? So they want to see, working within some sort of a perceived risk limit, not YOLOing it, not doing 100 trades per day. They want to see a real strategy behind it. And I would argue that people who try to do 100 trades per day, unless you have a full year, so time, 1 year, plus a 10,000 sample size, so 40 trades per day, roughly, for an entire year, that you don't know whether you have an edge as a scalper. Take it for what it is, but that's the reality. So if you can't hold on to an account and you call yourself a scalper, there's something not right there. And you're doing 100 trades a day. I actually had somebody who joined my payout incubator at one point. I don't run those very often. I run them every once in a while. And they joined it, and then they were like, "Oh, Dee, I just read like how you want us to like post and for feedback and stuff." And I said yes. I said, "Well, I do 300 trades per day, so how do I journal them?" And I was like, "And you joined?" And I said, "Well, I'm gonna refund you like right now, because I can tell you I'm not reviewing 300 trades per day, and you shouldn't either. Slow down." So yeah, that's my opinion on that. Not Connor 918 says, "Seems like the risk analysis is similar to Sharpe ratio. Noted and very cool." I'm not sure. There's a lot of traders who they're manual traders, and they have just like a very average Sharpe ratio of like 1.82, whereas usually for algorithms you want to see that at 4 and 5, but for manual traders you have that discretion. And I'm sure it's one of the metrics that they look at, but frankly, I've always enjoyed the K ratio better. GSK says, "I was in tilt since November and was able to request a payout yesterday. It's relieving. Need to keep working on taking profit when it's there." Yes and no. Just be mindful not to take out more than you should have as your working capital. So work out what your working capital should be. What were your previous drawdowns? How long did they last? Was it alright, this RBOB is not going anywhere, so I'm gonna kill that. What's the time? We're also getting quite close. I mean, it might pop, it's just it should have popped already, and I'm not liking these sweeps that I'm seeing, so I'm just gonna close it, and then after this I am going to go and have a big break, as I usually do, and come back for the later part of the session, and then we're gonna see what's around. But for now, it's very sketchy here. Copper is completely range bound, but I'm gonna leave it running for now. I'm gonna leave it running. And I'm also, because we're coming to that time of day where they do kind of retest Asia low, London is not as likely that they're gonna go all the way down there. But the closer we get to COMEX, the more lively things get, and also a little bit jumpy, because you get that expansion as we get pre-market. But yeah, so yeah, with the working capital, just be careful not to take out too much, because that is also one of the reasons of people blowing out accounts. They keep chasing a payout, like, oh, 5 days, I'm going to take a payout. Oh, I'm going to take a payout. And then by the end, they're left with like 2K. So you can't work with that. That's like, what, are we back to a combine now? And why are you with prop? If you're only going to generate and leave 2K in there, you can do that with a personal account. You don't need prop for that. Joe Watson says, "Can you still request a payout after 5 payouts if they don't move you to live?" Yeah, I mean, as long as you didn't get a call out to live. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Nolan says they will move me up if I can make it, just adjusting something more now. Yeah, I'm the same. Well, yeah, again, so EMS is saying, Properov, you tell the boy, man, it's going to be hard for me to help you. I'm never, I'm not somebody who's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do mentorships for like, as a real business. It's like, for me, getting involved one-to-one with someone, that someone has to be a pretty decent trader to begin with, and certainly not like just YOLOing and doing stupid things and not working on themselves. But if they are working on themselves, and if we get to a point where we're talking about stats, I want to see stats, right? So I want to see, well, do you have any blown combines that you've kept for longer than 2 weeks? That's what I want to see. I don't want to see profitable combines. That's like, well, what do you need me for if you're so good? Why are you here? So I'm pretty selective about it, and over the entire year, I might take on 7 people, like personally, maybe. And then if it's a year where I'm not doing that great on health, I won't take anyone. Like 0. In fact, I think in 2023, I don't know whether I had like 3 people on at all. Because, to me, that's just like, well, if I can help, I will. But at the same time, if I see anything that's like gamblery or addiction-wise, it's like you don't need me. You need to go and sort out your addictive behaviors first. But if it's like just basic fight or flight and lack of confidence in the setups and freaking out after a loss, going on revenge trading, that I can work on because I know the causes of it. I've been there, and I know how I've dealt with it. And at the end of the day, at this point, I probably work closer to like 400 people in coaching, me personally, which doesn't even include the VIP of Topstep. So if we include, let's say, another 100 people, so we're getting to 500 people in the last 8 years since I've been doing that. So yeah. Not Connor says 4 to 5 sharp ratio and K ratio. 4 to 5 sharp is just for APIs and like basically mechanical trading systems mostly, because they don't have emotions, and yeah. Kafka says, D, why does my DOM look differently than yours? It doesn't have moving bid ask. Is that a subscription data add-on? Yes, it is called level 2 data. You will find it in the add-on section of the new dashboard. And yeah, it is a subscription of $34 per month in addition to whatever combine you have. Now, if you're thinking of signing up now, don't do it because the data is going to charge you again on the 1st of the month. That cannot be changed. That is not Topstep, that is CME, and they if you sign up now for $34 on the 1st, you're going to get another charge of $34. So if you want to make sure to get level data, just wait until the 1st, and then you get the full month of it nicely. Yeah, K ratio, Connor, is not that familiar. Like it's not that widespread, but you'll see. Just have a look at it. It's a very, very good measure. Nolan says self-improvement has to be a religion. We all need to strive for perfection as people. We know we will never be perfect, but it's ideal to try to be, and most people just don't see it that way. If you're a fan of Star Trek, are we Borg? Do we seek perfection and assimilation of other races to make it our biological and technological distinctions, to make them our own? Can you see I'm a nerd? I don't know whether you should seek perfection in trading. Honestly, perfectionists don't do that well in trading because there is no such thing as perfection, because the markets are not an exact science. It's a probability environment, right? And that means any sort of perfection that's it's going to put a wrench in the works, right? And every time I see people who are nitpicking over exact because how does perfection reflect on in trading? You want to get this price or no other, right? It has to be this, like, let's say I have a random price. It's got to be an entry at 222.10, and then you enter and you get done with a 17 tick spread because of lack of liquidity. So what do? Oh no, I didn't get the exact price, and your mind just starts going into something called ERN. Guys, enough. Hey, stop it. Your mind goes into something called the error-related negativity, and that kicks in within 50 to 100 milliseconds. And this happens to people who are normally very controlled and super successful in all other areas, because ERN, having a higher response, it means that you can adjust your behaviors going forward, but it works completely the opposite way in trading. It's actually very detrimental to have high ERN. It's better to have a lazy ERN response, because then you'll be like, made a mistake, cool. And that's why I think the people who are more lazy as traders in that regard, where they're like, this is good enough. Like, I don't go for exactness. I'm like, look, if I can kind of stab it somewhere where I can cover the whole zone in an 85 tick stop or an RBOB, that's good enough for me. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, it's like, deep, but shouldn't you be more exact? I don't care if the trade works out in the end. It really doesn't matter whether I get it at 222.11, 222.20, or 222.30. It's still gonna be the same profit margin, same everything. And that's why I like to have a profit margin of 3R or more. So if I am to use an 85 tick stop, let's assume another entry here at the same level, because we still haven't moved. So what would be a 3 to 1? What would be a 3 to 1? Now I have a hacked fib tool here, which looks terrible here. So this would be 1R, 2R, 3R, right? So do I have 3R multiples to the other side, to the next pain point? I do, because the call wall and the supply, that's the originating supply up here, intraday, that's where we came from. So this trade is still valid as long as we don't go below ADR low. But do I care whether I catch it up at 222.74, whether I catch it all the way down to look like an absolute genius? Honestly, I couldn't care less. I really couldn't. As long as my stop survives, I'm also not particularly bothered by drawdowns, but as long as I'm ultimately right on direction, exactness means zero to me. And yet I am a perfectionist in other things. I was a perfectionist as a musician. Every phrase had to be crystal clear. I had to, even if I was playing something at high tempo, I wanted every single note to come out properly. And whether that was saxophone, electric guitar, singing, whatever, it had to be absolutely spot on. If I'm practicing intervals, there couldn't be any, random squeaks in between that interval or additional harmonics. It had to be clean. But that is not good for trading. So I actually had to spend quite a few years not being super exact. And it was actually a huge challenge for me to initially start looking at things as a zone. But right now, 20 years later, it's just so ingrained in me that I'm like, nah, that'll do. And, people criticize me for it. And I'm like, I honestly don't care. Like, if it's a profitable trade, it's a profitable trade. Who cares where you got in, right? As long as it was the zone. Nolan says, if I wasn't so damn stingy about it, I would be way up right now. I often refuse to close at times because completion has not been reached to exactly what I expected. Yeah, see, this is the perfection. So you are effectively expecting a take profit or nothing less, right? Whereas I have a 2R multiple as like a loose target. If it gets to 1.3, 1.5, and then we get to a time of day where it's all a bit tricky, and I know that it's a pain point because it's like a can reverse probabilistically, I'll just close it. And I'm like, okay, well, 0.8. That's all I got. And it really doesn't bother me because I know that the next trade and the next trade, and over time, the expected value is still there, even if you're not getting the 2 Rs all the time, right? Because the trade locations generally are happening. We are starting to get a little bit more movement here, so this could be another long, and I will probably try it before NYMEX. We've got just a few minutes here to hang together. So we'll try another RBOB and then see if we can get this hump on the low time from VWAP reclaimed and finally get the push from crude oil. Crude oil also needs to close above its own ADR low, and then it'll be on. If that doesn't happen and it just kind of starts dripping down from here, then I'll stay out. But for now, it does look like it might be like a late reversal before NYMEX. So yeah, it's still a valid setup. So yes, second one was only like what, a few ticks, 4 or 5 ticks out. So I do still have one more attempt for this time frame, and then later, if there's a setup, I might get involved, I may not, we will see. If there's nothing on these products, I'm gonna move to either Natty, or maybe I have a look at maybe I'll have a look at micro gold, but maybe, that's a big maybe. So I will be moving products. I'm not going to stick to things that are a little bit sketchy and very, very prone to headline risk, because we have US and Iran talks. So when the talks continue, I might find it a bit too jumpy and too news impacted. If I can't rely on a level because we have somebody speaking about the negotiations and stuff, that's going to impact this heavily. And if there's any kind of positive outcome, crude oil and RBOB are just going to smash down. So again, that's against what I'm seeing on the technical side. All right, I'm going to finish it here and make way for the daytime show. So we'll see how we end the day. I'm not on tomorrow, but I will be here, I think, for group coaching. I think that's on the schedule. In the meantime, accept your losses, don't freak out, develop that superpower of not being bothered by a loss. That is going to be something that will serve you incredibly well in your career. Be okay being wrong. That's all I have. I will see you again very soon. I'm Marcus Tokadi. This is the Metal Markets on Topstep TV, and I will see you later. Take care.